Akashat patitam toyam yatha gacchati sagaram. All water that falls from the skies finds its way to the ocean. The oceans cover more than two-thirds of the Earth's surface. And so, a nation with a coastline extending over 7,000 kilometers must keep a strict vigil on the seas. He who masters this awesome force of nature will doubtless leave his footprints on the sands of time. Only a strong, self-reliant, and state-of-the-art navy can ensure that the nation commands a say over the waters in its vicinity. And the vast Indian Ocean is of great geopolitical and strategic importance. Does India, the biggest nation in the South Asian subcontinent, meet the challenge? Welcome to the Indian Navy, the maritime wing of our defense services. India's entry into the new millennium was marked by bustling activity at the country's premier Western Naval Command. Guided missile destroyer INS Mumbai, so named to salute the city's great maritime history, became the latest addition to India's naval armada. This 6,700-ton warship can exceed a speed of 30 knots. 22nd January 2001 marks a special date with history for another reason. INS Kirch was also joining the fleet. It was the first time that two naval ships were being commissioned simultaneously. The port city of Mumbai has a well-earned pride of place in India's sea law. The Portuguese arrived here in the 16th century and promptly christened it Bombahem, literally the Good Bay. They built a fort on the eastern shore. Next came the British. King Charles II, who acquired the 7 islands as dowry, leased them out to the East India Company for just £10 a year. Realizing Bombay's strategic location, the company strengthened it as a naval base, while encouraging merchants to make it a center for trade. A series of dry and wet docks and the Bombay Port Trust establishment soon transformed the shoreline. Today, the bustling port city handles over 1/3 of India's total trade. India's maritime history goes back thousands of years, as images from ancient seals reveal. Hippasus the Greek discovered the seasonal winds of the southwest monsoon, paving the way for sea trade between India and the Hellenic nations. The teachings of Lord Buddha traveled across the Bay of Bengal to Java, Sumatra, and further east. As early as 600 AD, a treatise titled Yukti Kalpataru provided details of sizes, shapes, and uses of ships. Up to the 14th century, Indian ships called regularly at the ports stretching from the Red Sea to the African seaboard. European monarchs sent expeditions to seek out the bountiful land of silk, spice, and ivory. Coming as travelers, they sought to colonize India. Commercial vessels proved the precursors of naval battleships. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, the Maratha ruler, was among the first to sense the danger from foreign powers. He appointed Kanhoji Angre as the naval commanding officer to ward off the invader. The swift gunboats of the Maratha Navy often outmaneuvered the slow-moving foreign warships. Further south, 4 generations of the Kunjalis made the colonial adventurers pay a price for their plunder. But it was too little, too late. Ironically, the evolution of the first regular Indian naval force began thanks to the East India Company when it formed the Indian Marine in 1613. Blind to the threat from the sea for hundreds of years, the local navies were no match for the invaders. The shifting of the company from Surat to Bombay gave birth to the Bombay Marine, which successfully combated local resistance. The British succeeded in their policy of divide and rule. India became a colony. But there was a plus side too. Quick to realize native expertise, the British commissioned Indian shipbuilders like the Vadias. Over 300 of the finest ships in the world came out of their shipyard. As with vessels, so with men. In 1877, the Indian Marines became Her Majesty's Marines, the first ever official naval troops to serve the British Crown. In 1930, it was rechristened the Royal Indian Navy, RIN. With the outbreak of the Second World War, this efficient force of seamen amply demonstrated their fighting spirit. At the height of World War II, the Royal Indian Navy comprised 7 sloops, 4 frigates, 14 minesweepers, 30 harbour craft, scores of motor launches, and 25,000 personnel. The RIN Marines were visible in many theatres of war. Several of these brave men earned recognition for their gallantry. But the call for independence appealed to the heart of every Indian Navy man. The spark of revolt was lit by disenchantment with post-war demobilization and a belief that passive resistance would not oust the British from India. On February 18, 1946, nationalist seamen of the Royal Indian Navy challenged the Raj with protest marches and exchange of fire. The uprising spread to 56 ships and 10 establishments. To the British, it was a signal. It was time to go. Then came independence, and the Indian tricolour flew proudly on Indian ships. After India became a republic in January 1950, the prefix Royal was dropped and the modern Indian Navy came into being. But it would still be a few years before an Indian officer took charge. In April 1954, Vice Admiral R.D. Katari became the first Indian Chief of Naval Staff. The years after independence proved crucial for the growth of the Navy. The government realized the need to modernize the force. An array of celebrated British warships sailed out to be inducted into the Indian Navy. HMS Achilles steamed into Indian waters, rechristened HMIS Delhi, the first destroyer to be inducted into independent India's Navy. Others came in its wake. The Rajput and Godavari class, bearing proud names that echoed the drumbeats of history and the bugles of bravery. Their crests bespoke their motto of valor. Additional ships were ordered to be built and commissioned into the Navy. One after another they followed. Among much expectation and jubilation, to soon create the nucleus of the modern Indian Navy. May 27th, 1951. A proud day. The Indian Navy was bestowed the President's Colour at the hands of Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Being the most senior of the 3 services, it was the first to receive this honour. No Navy can become truly powerful till it becomes self-reliant. Responding to the urgency, the Indian Naval Force went from strength to strength. Today, shipyards in Mumbai, Calcutta, Goa, and other parts of the country are busy all year round, building a variety of ships for the deep. From time to time, ships visit the naval dockyards too for repairs and even a complete refit. Sophistication has arrived. The hammering of chisels has given way to the sizzle of metal cutters. The slow swish of the brush has been speeded up by the spray of the paint gun. Quality labs fine-tune precision instruments. At other yards, technicians check the arsenal and put finishing touches to the armament. Inside the dry docks, ships are restored to health and then put back into the waters, fortified and fighting fit. Upgrading is a continuous process in the age of high-tech. Our naval vessels are fitted with the latest electronic warning and warfare systems. The indigenous designing of sonars and ECM devices is proof of local mastery over high-tech skills. Over the years, this quantum leap in its sophistication has catapulted India into a frontline naval power. Scores of vessels have been added to the naval force, differing in size, shape and capability, each dedicated for a special task. Together, they make the Indian Navy a formidable force. The last decade has proved decisive. With the addition of large tankers, India's sea wing crossed the big divide. From being a brown water navy, it has become a truly blue water navy. The gigantic INS Jyoti, which joined the fleet at the turn of the century, has made a phenomenal difference. Refueling capacity has doubled. The Naval Task Force can now extend its operations up to 50 days and stretch its range to nearly 17,000 miles.
Now, fire!
The sea is an unforgiving environment. Precision is a prime requirement in seamanship. Bringing two steel mammoths close together and streaming along requires skill of the highest order. So does the jackstay, a precise and coordinated transport over the ropeway. Crossing from one ship to another on the high seas is an oft-required operation to transport men and material, and critical during emergencies. To expect the unexpected is the hallmark of being battle-ready.
General readiness. Resume. DC State 1, condition Zulu. Hands to action stations.
4 report speed. Confirm 3 tracking.
A war exercise at sea, led by the mighty aircraft carrier INS Virat. Agile and accurate, the air arm of the Navy takes to the skies, capable of intercepting enemy aircraft, ships or submarines. Lookouts keep an eagle eye for intruders. Fiery rockets and the booming guns send out a warning. If the enemy is still not deterred, the warships readily unleash their lethal missiles. Alien submarines take refuge in the ocean. Our sonars pinpoint such lurking threats, and off go the torpedoes. Dark nights are no impediment to accuracy of our modern weapons.
1 and 4. We're about to launch. Push.
Day after day, the Indian Armada plies the ocean, ever ready. These complex war machines demand the best. And the men aboard are quite up to the task. Crew and captain are a picture of alertness. Each job is a specialized one. Each ship is a powerhouse of energy. And some generate enough power to light up a small town. Fire is a potential hazard at sea, and the crew regularly hone their skills in fighting it. Being at sea does not rule out choice nutrition. And the galley is a busy place. The crew looks forward to their meals. A varied cuisine punctuates the day's energy-consuming duties. Staying fit is a prime requirement for life at sea. Rigorous training mold the capability of the men on land or underwater. These men are prepared for any contingency. The officers keep abreast with the latest developments in their profession. Navy men from neighboring countries regularly join the forces. Detailed knowledge of ocean currents and sea tracks are crucial for ships to navigate safely. Hydrographers periodically survey the Indian Ocean and bring out detailed charts. The surveyors need to carefully monitor a wide range of data. The Portuguese were the first to produce maritime maps of the Indian waters. The British East India Company gave a fresh impetus to chart the seas, discovering scores of new routes. After independence, the Naval Hydrographic Organization was shifted to Dehradun. Work progresses apace. Maps and charts are regularly brought out. The National Hydrographic Office, NHO, now has 8 ships to chart the oceans. The accuracy of its surveys is second to none in the world. Back in the 50s, the Navy had realized the need to grow wings, attracting some of the finest young men to its fold. Thus came into being the Air Wing of the Navy. Today, all indigenously built naval ships have a place to accommodate a helicopter aboard. Helicopters play a vital role in transport between ships and from land to sea. Taking off from motherships, helicopters perform a crucial role of peacetime transportation and anti-submarine warfare. Sea Kings render logistic support to sneak commando missions. In 1961, INS Vikrant, India's first aircraft carrier, joined the fleet. A mobile platform to launch air assaults, it was a force multiplier that added a new dimension to the Navy's strike power. Today, its successor, the magnificent INS Virat, has become the invaluable backbone of the Indian Navy. State-of-the-art combat aircraft give the Navy a mighty leap, from scouring the skies to the plunge into the deep. The earliest submarines arrived in India after a long journey from the Soviet Union. Today, we indigenously build these giant whales of the sea. The latest acquisitions can accurately launch deadly missiles. The Navy's march into the modern era has crossed a critical threshold. It can justifiably be proud of being a three-dimensional force. A force capable of erecting an impregnable defense and, if challenged, ready to launch a relentless attack. The Indian Navy has proved its worth in all the maritime operations since independence. The Liberation of Goa in 1961. Operation Vijay began on the morning of December 18. In a masterly twin attack, INS Betwa and INS Bias incapacitated the Portuguese cruiser within 10 minutes of furious firing. The last bastion of colonial rule had fallen away. Karachi, 1971. In a well-planned maneuver, Indian fast attack missile boats, acting in close coordination with the destroyers, pounded the port city twice in just 1 week, destroying the ammo depot and sinking scores of enemy ships. A decisive blow to the Pak Navy. On the Eastern Front, the Indian Navy struck again by sinking the enemy submarine PNS Ghazi off the Visakhapatnam coast. It quickly ended the threat to the Indian task force in the Bay of Bengal. INS Vikrant sailed into the attack, cutting off the enemy's escape route. Pak warships were now sitting ducks. Their tale of terror had ended. 1987. The Navy landed battalions of the Indian peacekeeping force at the request of the Sri Lankan government. It meant multiple action. Unloading stores, landing 200,000 men, and effectively cutting off the supply line to the militants. Maldives, 1988. The air wing of the Indian Navy spotted the rebels who had declared a coup d'etat. 2 Indian warships set out immediately on a rescue mission. A quick show of strength led to a meek surrender by the adventurers. One of the prime roles of the Navy in peacetime is maritime diplomacy. Towards this end, the Indian Navy organized the International Fleet Review 2001. The unprecedented mega event at the turn of the new millennium notched a special place in the annals of India's maritime history. Nations big and small sent their ships and displayed their friendship. Between 15th and 20th February 2001, the Navy played host to the grand event. 29 navies from all over the world responded to the invitation. It was a memorable meeting of Navy men. The impressive international turnout was a global recognition of India's place among nations of the world, and a salute to the stature and sophistication of the Indian Navy. The last century sought to conquer space. This century could well turn its hopes towards the sea. Shanno Varuna. May Varuna, the Lord of the Oceans, be auspicious unto us.